Hey everybody, hi, how are you? It's good to see you. It's Quilt Nerd time. Yeah, it's time for the show, and I am, I've got everything ready. I have a lot of things to share with you tonight, including announcements and all kinds of stuff. I'm coming to you live from Chicago, and Stephanie Cake is here. And Steph, you have been on Quilt Adventures and doing,
I have.
Yeah.
But you know what, Mary? Before we say anything about Quilt Adventures, may I say your lighting looks very good tonight.
Oh, really? Oh, good. I mean, I feel like I'm a little green around the edges, but thanks. That's good to know. I'm in a different room actually in the office because someone's using the big conference room. But that's great. That's great. So many times I feel like the lighting is, I just never get it quite right. So that's good to know. Today I was working on school stuff, and I'm applying to PhD programs, and I'm uploading things all the time to the portals and the different things. If I get into a PhD program, which this is really true, everyone who is applying to these things, the odds are against them. Every single person, the odds are against them because, you have a lot of people applying to these things, and they take like 5 people a year, on average, a lot of these programs. I'm optimistic but realistic about it, and but they're all online. All of the application stuff is online, and some of you, because we have a lot of like really smarty people out there, some of you are doctors and you've done this application process, or some people did the application process and maybe didn't they weren't offered acceptance or whatever, offered admittance, and that's okay too. But whatever it was in the past, it was probably by mail. Everything was by mail, and you probably sent away your stuff, and then you got a letter of rejection or acceptance or whatnot. But now it's all online, and so if I get rejected or if I get accepted, I'll get an email. And that just seems like, an email. Wouldn't it be nicer to get a letter and go through like the drama of like well, here we go, snip, 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 or I'd probably get my, my letter opener for that one,
Mm-hmm. And it's a thin envelope that can't be
exactly.
It's a big fat envelope.
Yeah.
It's got the dorm brochures.
Yeah, exactly. The dorm brochures. I was actually wondering, it's like, say we were still in mail world, MAIL world, it's like, if you're not going to the dorms, exactly, Stephanie, like if you're not going to the dorms, would the letter look different? Would it be fatter? Or would it be the same if it was yes or no? You know what I mean?
I feel like when you reach that level in academia, your letters are probably like, hi, welcome to the team, or go away.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I do feel that also. I'm going to do something real quick here. I want to do something. It's bothering me. Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to know, while we're on the subject, who out there has done this process? Like who out there has done the PhD process? And I'm really happy to be here. I'm sorry this background is a little funky, but I don't like how it's sort of not centered, and so we're gonna fix it. We're gonna fix it because like this, it's got to be perfect. Everything has to be perfect. That's right. So that's what we're gonna do. Tonight is one of the. It's a crazy show because it's the second to last show of the season, and to be honest, I'm a little discombobulated. I want everything to be perfect for this show. I want everything to be perfect for the last show of the season, which is on Saturday. I'm going to talk about that and give you a card in just a minute so you can really see visually, the time of that show, which is different than usual, and the tier 2 and tier 3 subscribers. We have a little special pregame thing that we're going to do, but it's hard. It's hard to have that be real. That the show is going to be dark for the rest of the year because of things that I have to do and things that we have to do. So like there's like pressure to make these last two shows like the best that Quilt Nerd you've ever seen. And I thought about doing so bear with me, right? Because I'm experiencing something. I'm like going through something. And I want to say hi to people who are here, and we just did a hype train, which is amazing. Kenny is here, and you subscribed at tier 2. You've been subscribed for 22 months. Thank you so much, Kenny. I'm eating your chips. We have a chip report. Nope. It's not going to show. I knew it wouldn't.
These are some very interesting chips, Mary.
They're calorie free. You can see they're so light, they're invisible. They're the jalapeno chips that Kenny sent me. That was the chip report sound for Eva. Boulder Canyon jalapeno chips. And you know what? I gotta tell you, Kenny, I love your chips. I love the chips. The jalapeno ones are so salty. Like tomorrow morning, I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna be like, it's just gonna be like I retain salt in my face. And to be perfectly honest, in the inner thighs. It's just like, oh my God. So, and just really it's sort of total, but I just notice like I feel it everywhere in those places in particular. And so I just kind of like know that tomorrow I'm going to pay for it, but they're really delicious. So I like them anyway. Thanks, Kenny. Dee Dee, hello. Robin is here. Hello, Robin. Mia's here. Oh my God, Mia. It's so good to see you. I love talking to you on Slack. It's so good. Morrow Dim, hello. Hello to you. Finn McCool. Oh my God. It's so great to see you. I hope you saw the last show. I went through those wonderful Dusty magazines. Maybe it was the show before. Amazing. Roxanne Cooper's here. Oh my God, it's so good to see you. Kwa Kwa is here. Joyce is here. Padma's here. It's Okay is here. God bless you. It's okay. Lost Weka and Roxanne Cooper subscribed at tier 3. You've been subscribed for 8 months. You're on an 8-month streak. Thank you for subscribing at tier 3, Roxanne. That's amazing. I really appreciate it. Word and Burn Nerd is here. Maybe I said hi to you. And you're hanging with your sister-in-law, Finn McCool. Oh, wow, on the transplant ward. Listen, good wishes to you. Kicking its butt. I love that. Best wishes to anybody who's going through some stuff, some hospital stuff, some doctor stuff. really, really send you good wishes. And we got Jill in the house, and we got Drink Wine and Soul Lynn, who subscribed to Tier 1. You've been subscribed for 15 months. I love it so much. You're intrigued by the raccoons. Yes, you mean the red panda? Is that what you mean? Maybe there's raccoons. Maybe there's raccoons in the chat. I'm not sure. And Kitty is here. It's so good to see Kitty. And who else did I see? I saw Felt Like Sweets. I felt like Sweets. Charles, it's so good to see you. It's really good to see you. I'm calling the roll tonight because I just want to. And Felt Like Sweets, thank you for subscribing for 15 months. And Nunmaker is here. And who else do we have? We got Darcy. And we've got, let's see. Oh, we did a hype train. That's pretty awesome. And then everybody who's in the Lurker Lounge, it's really great to see you. And I want to say hi to Naflinster and JB Comb Jellies. Stitch and Deb is here. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you so much. Druid, my darling babe, is here. M. Hicks and Earth Girl, now both subscribers for 25 months and 21 months, respectively. Penny Catherine, L. Riggs, thank you for subscribing. And I think I got everybody. And Bip. And it's Bip. Not bad. Thanks, everybody. It's great to see you. Yeah. So, and Jonathan, if you're watching, I got your email right before I went live, and I'll call you tomorrow. Okay? Cool. So here we go. Let's get into the content. It is a bouillabaisse of things. Steph, do you have anything you want to share before? I mean, is there anything?
I have some cake TV things, but
okay.
We can do that at the
cake
break.
Okay, sounds good. We will do that at the cake break, and then and so we've got so much to do. So let's do it. Okay, let's do the intro quilt first. Okay, so on the docket tonight is, let me get small. On the docket tonight, lots of stuff, and one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to read you my statement of purpose. Eric and I call it, we just say, state your purpose. So I'm going to state my purpose for this PhD thing. And I've worked on it for 2 months. I mean, to write something that I feel proud of takes about that long, depending on what it is. I mean, if it's a full book, it's going to take a little longer than 2 months. But I'm going to read you what I am finally happy with. I'm going to read it to you because I think it makes sense to do that. And so one of the schools I'm applying to that I know, I'm not saying this because it's like, I should say it. I'm going to apply to Yale, and it's because there's a really good program there that I like, and there are professors at Yale that I really would love to work with. And I've mentioned this before, and it's crazy to me to even try something like that, because to me, some of those schools, and not all the schools I'm applying to are like those fancy East Coast schools, but it's kind of strange. Like, I've just never seen myself at a place like that. And so to even try for something like that feels really weird. It just feels weird. It feels like, that's not what people from my hometown do, to be perfectly honest. Like no one I know, except for Katie Porter. I think she went to Stanford, but Liz Porter's daughter. But I mean, other than that person, it's just not something that was I didn't have that vision for myself. And a lot of those schools are rankings are crap usually. And anyway, it doesn't matter. But it's one of the schools on the list. And so when I was looking around, and exploring that school, I found that Yale has some quilts in their galleries, in their collection, and they also have some wonderful photographs in their library that involve quilts. And so I'm going to show you a few of those photographs, and I'm going to show you this quilt. This quilt is in the Yale University Art Gallery. It's not on view right now, but I love it. They have, I think there were 14 hits or something when I searched the Yale University Library for quilts, and this was one of them. And hey, Myra. And Robin says, I love this quilt. It gives me ideas for some antique blocks I have. I love that, Robin. That's great. I love this quilt too. I mean, it's got that red in it. That just little bit of red always works for me. This quilt is dated from 1875 to 1925, so somewhere in there. I probably, I don't know. It's probably just a shot in the dark, but I'd put it toward the later end of that scale. I don't know. It just seems a little bit more early 1900s than late 1800s to me, but I don't know. I really love the stitching. It's got this blanket stitching in it. That solid red, turkey red probably, is really great. And I like the gingham too. So it's sort of a crazy quilt in that it's got this decorative stitching that's going on with it. The color palette is just knocking me out. Look at the border. They put an extra line of decorative stitches, I guess it's in the middle of the border. Yeah, it's in the middle of the border. But it's totally for decorative purposes. You know what I mean? Steph, do you see that?
Yeah, you remember the quilts like this, that blue, so reminds me of Jacob. Remember?
Yes.
My quilt that I worked on?
Yes.
Yeah, and so when I see this, I'm like, oh yeah, that's turn of the century. That blue.
Exactly.
Is that like those, it's not shirting, but it's similar to shirting, I guess.
Yeah, it does look like that. And I know there's a particular fabric called cadet blue, and it was like it was a specific, not a specific dye, but a specific color. And I don't know if one of these colors would be cadet blue. Somebody out there might. Okay, Mia's saying, well, Mia knows her stuff. She says closer to 1900, 1910. Right on. See? Right on. Oh, you get the sound effect.
That's what I do. I invented Post-its.
Yeah, that's great, Mia. It's great to have your input. Myra, thank you so much for resubscribing. You've been subscribed for 24 months. That's 2 years for subscribing with Prime. I really appreciate it. Oh, and Finn McCool, she's coming in with some truth as well. If I were a voting gal, I'd vote 1885 to 95. The cadet blues were 1890s. Okay. Well, I had the cadet blue, but I didn't have the time period, so this is very interesting. So you and Mia both are saying right there, turn of the century-ish, so I don't know.
Yeah, I showed somebody or some people yesterday it was solids. They weren't prints, so I know that's much more difficult.
Right.
But they called them My Cadet Blue, and My Cadet Blue was just about like these blues.
Really?
They called it 1930s. But I think it was more. I think
chaos.
it was less the color, because I asked. I was saying, like, is that this cadet blue? Like, is that a specific time period blue? Because like the green, there's that like Depression era green.
Right.
And they said, I think it was less the color than like the hand of the fabric.
Interesting. Okay.
But,
interesting.
Yeah, I was trying to put those blues like kind of in a time period, and I think it's a little more of like what the weight of the fabric would help.
Interesting.
So than the color. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's really interesting. I didn't know it. And I want to show you just appreciate, like, look at this patch. This patch right here. It's so great. It looks like a little bucket. And then over here, this one too. Like, it's just, I love the shapes. They're just fantastic. And the whole of the thing is really terrific. So the provenance that it's 82 by 65, by the way. And I really love that they put the pictures of it sort of horizontal looking. I think let's see what happens when we rotate it. Let's just see. Huh. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's really great that way too, isn't it? I don't know. There's something about when I saw it sort of more horizontally, you know what I mean, horizontally pictured. I really liked it, as though it was up on the wall or something, but it does look pretty good this way as well. Although for some reason the 9 patches, they're harder to discern or something. Hey, Myra said, Mary Modern Quilt Guild emailed me this morning and I'm in like Flynn on one of your tours. Yay, that's great. Modern Quilt Guild, by the way, QuiltCon this year is like, it's bigger than ever. Like, they have more people coming than ever before. And so many, I think I mentioned this, but they added tours. So I'm doing 2 tours a day instead of 1 tour a day because they sold out so quickly. So if you're going to go to QuiltCon and there's still room in the tours that they added, you should grab a spot right away for the special exhibit tours. And you should definitely come to my lectures. I did a gig on Friday for a guild in Pennsylvania, and I talked about Bertha and I talked about the artist in the quilt. And I'm giving lectures on Bertha Meckstroth and the artist in the quilt, and they are going to be really good, really good. So if you're going to QuiltCon, sign up for that stuff. Get a lecture pass. It's good stuff. Excellent. Oh, Charles is going to be there too. I can't wait. Oh, Mia's going to be there. Heck yeah. And AQSG is going to have a booth. It's going to be great. Okay, so that's the intro quilt. Now, really briefly, one of the reasons that I love this show, one of the reasons that I always wanted to do a show like this is because I find such wonderful things. I find wonderful things all the time, and I want to share them with people. And quilts provide an entry point into the entire world, and I learn about the world when I look at quilts, and like this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. So in the Yale University Library, I found this picture, and there's actually a couple pictures of this person. So this is Chester B. Himes, okay? And this was a photograph by these are photographs by Carl Van Vechten in New York. They were taken in it says June 29, 1955, but then the record for these photographs says 1962. I'm not totally sure. But here is Chester B. Himes. I'm going to tell you who he is. Whoops, that's not what I want to do. I'll tell you who he is, and there's just several really fantastic photographs of him from this series. We'll come back to that one. So who is this person? Well, I'm going to tell you. And I didn't know who this person was, but a quilt led the way. Okay? Here's who Chester B. Himes is. Some of you may know. Who he is. Chester Himes was born in 1909 in Missouri. He died in 1984 in Spain. Interesting. He was an African-American writer whose novels reflect his encounters with racism. As an expat in Paris, similar to James Baldwin, by the way. James Baldwin went to Paris, so that's interesting. I wonder if they knew each other. He published a series of black detective novels. I mean, the world is amazing. It's huge. It's big. It's fascinating. I didn't know about this person. The domination of his dark-skinned father, by the way, this comes from Encyclopedia Britannica. The domination of his dark-skinned father by his light-skinned mother was a source of deep resentment that shaped Himes' racial outlook. The family's frequent relocations, as well as the accidental blinding of his brother, further disrupted his childhood. He went to Ohio State University, and from 1929 to 1936, he was jailed at the Ohio State Penitentiary for armed robbery, and while he was there, he began to write fiction. A number of his stories appeared in Esquire, published in Chicago, by the way, and other American magazines. After his release from prison, he worked at numerous odd jobs and joined the Works Progress Administration, which, of course, had a quilt, contingent, right? People were doing quilts for the WPA. And he eventually served as a writer with the Ohio Writers Project. Fascinating. His first novel, If He Hollers, Let Him Go, published in 1945, details the fear, anger, and humiliation of a black employee of a racist defense plant during World War II. And he had other novels. These are black detective novels. So interesting. And here he is photographed in front of this beautiful quilt. It's so cool. And in the mid-1950s, a little bit more here, Himes moved to Paris. He wrote chiefly murder mysteries set in New York City's Harlem. And then there's a bunch of titles. And he published 2 volumes of autobiography, The Quality of Hurt and My Life as Absurdity. And when I was looking around, I found this NPR story about he had a crazy life. Like just a wild, it seems like he had a very wild life, and that he was known for his very wild life. So maybe a playboy, I don't know. I didn't get to look into him, too much, but learning about this kind of thing because quilts led the way is just, I just feel lucky. And this is what I kind of talk about in the statement of purpose too, or what I've talked about before is that, the world is so big. It's nice to have a way in. And I feel really grateful and fortunate that I have quilts in my life because they're a way in to Black literature. They're a way into detective novels. Like, it just doesn't stop, Like, I just would not wake up and be like, I wonder if there are any Black detective novels written in the 1960s. I just wouldn't do it. But now I'm like, oh, Chester B. Himes, cool. And so if somebody mentions Chester B. Himes, or if I come across something like that, or if I need a good detective novel, now I know that there's this person out there who did serious work on that. And quilts were the reason that I know that. So that's pretty awesome. Okay. Now let's go to this person. I've got announcements to make, but I want to keep it rolling, man. I like dynamic content. I like to show you things from all kinds of different places. So Himes, did I say Hines? Oh, related to Gregory Hines. No, Himes with an M. Yeah, with an M. Okay. So here is some. I mean, how did I find this person? I don't know. I love this photograph. This is a great photo. You know, there's art direction, and there's art direction, and this looks really good to me. Let me zoom in on this piece. You know, have we seen pieces sort of similar to this? Perhaps, but there's something. I mean, yes, but there's something kind of compelling about this. I like the tomato red, a different red from what we saw in the intro quilt. I like the look of this fabric, which looks woven. Perhaps it is woven. We'll see. I like this print. You know, like there's something going on here that to me says that this person really considered what they were doing in a very careful way. And in fact, we will see that is probably true. This was made by Sam Tannenbaum, like the Royal Tannenbaums. Sam Tannenbaum is a textile designer and fiber artist currently based in upstate New York. Let's see. Do we have this fellow? Okay. That's another one. Hang on. Yep. Yeah, here's Sam. So sweet. Sam Tannenbaum. Their work aims to bring attention to the quiet moments in ordinary life. Much of their work references fine and folk art, including influences ranging from the Ulm School, ULM, Ulm School, I don't know what that is, Ulm School of Art and Design, to the early American Shakers. Tannenbaum has studied both textiles and art history at the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City, as well as the Chelsea College of Arts in London. Okay, very interesting. The shaker thing was really... Oh, I know how I found it. Because what was I looking... I wanted to know if the Shakers had a quilt style or if they made quilts at all. And I found that they did some, but you know what? I did not find... I would love to know. Maybe Mia knows. Maybe Finn McCool knows. Maybe Sherlock. Who knows? Who knows? But the... the information I found about shaker quilts was not... online, it wasn't good enough for me to really feel confident that, yeah, there were shaker quilts and that they, you know?
Yeah, I feel like I've never heard of them.
Me neither.
Yeah, maybe they worked, textiles were, their little boxes were a bigger deal than their textiles.
Yeah, their furniture was what they focused on. I mean, with the Amish thing, I mean, they really didn't want to waste time, right? So wasting time was a sin. So they had these big shapes and plainness, or wasn't tiny shapes most of the time, tiny patchwork. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about the Shakers to really know. But if anybody knows out there.
Yeah, they were an interesting bunch, I think. I don't know a whole lot about them either.
Yeah.
By the way, Ulm School of Design, it was a design school in Germany.
Oh, okay. Right on. Cool.
In the 50s.
Okay. Interesting. So here's a little bit more about Sam. So hands to work. And this is, I think, a series of work that he did. It's on his website, samtannenbaum.com. Steph, I didn't give you that link, but I think it's just his name, Sam Tannenbaum. Hands to Work is grounded in the designer's interest in Shaker lifestyle, represented in many ways through objects of significance. Hold on now. Found in Sam's childhood home, as well as an idealized, simplistic lifestyle lived in this home. Bringing forth a sense of nostalgia, the collection aims for a familiar feel with its attic-found, handmade, and folksy design. The collection's goal is to revive an appreciation of homemade design, something like that of slow movement or cottage industry. In a time of ever-advancing technology and innovation, the designer chose to go back to the basics, looking back at a time that relied on function. Interesting. The designs expose the way things are made, finding that the imperfections created in handmade objects are part of the charm. I love that he's wearing, well, maybe not sweatpants, but and socks. It's great. I like this pillow. I like this pillow a lot. I think this is a really great design. Hang on. Let me zoom in for you. The collection references the Shaker's simplistic, functional design style in order to concentrate on the importance of objects made without modern technology, handmade for their humble splendor. Interesting. I mean, this isn't, it's interesting. We could engage in dialogue about this, about simplicity and technology. And, there is this, I'm not criticizing this, I'm critically thinking about this, not criticizing this. I'm like, thinking about what modern technology means and what we, I mean, most people had a sewing machine by about 1870. It was a treadle situation. They either had one of their own or they had access to one. And so I think it's really interesting about how technology advances, and there's resistance, there's early adopters, there's all these different things, and as soon as the technology changes, a lot of people will often think fondly on the simpler times, but sometimes the simpler times, those, anyway, I don't know. It's complicated. It's like, yeah, it's complicated. A lot of people were really happy to have the modern technology because it made things faster for them, and they, could do things more quickly. But people today, who are overwhelmed by technology, do tend to sometimes look back on the good old days and wish that things would return to that. So it's an interesting, constantly changing kind of position. Anyway, time and attention were put into the craft work of the Shakers, and as each daily task was understood to be a private devotion to God, leading the group to be remembered fondly for the phrase, hands to work, hearts to God. The last bit of this is, the designer incorporates influences from their mother's quilts and their family's historic home to relate to the simplicity of Shaker lifestyle. In a way that references childhood ways of making, the colored pencil drawings and simplistic embroidery techniques depict inspirations from Shaker folk art in the form of devotional drawings, neighborhood maps, furniture, and pantry boxes. Hands to Work mixes the childlike style with traditional techniques. This is his weaving. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. To create a collection that harkens to a simpler time. This is, wow. Totally beautiful. I mean, I really, really like what he's doing here. And then this is him sewing. The colors, this tomato red and the black and gold with the white. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah. Anybody have anything on Shakers? Thanks, Robin. Yeah.
Yeah, Word from Bird Nerd shared a book title.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's like they do. It sounds like, and Jill also said that they're known in the sewing world for their sewing tools. So I know I've seen bigger sewing boxes and things. So I think that must be what they focused on, and maybe their quilts or coverlets or things were not terribly distinctive from anything else anybody else was making.
Right on. Okay. Well, that's good to know. I'd like to know about it. And, I would say that this is a perfect moment for the research goose. Shaker quilts, man. Somebody should look into it, that's like big time. Can you just see yourself, delivering a talk on Shaker quilts, at AQSG seminar, which is in Tarrytown, New York? That's where it is? New York, man. Go for the Big Apple. Write a paper. June 1st? You got tons of time. Write it over the Christmas holiday. Is abscond with, abscond? No, just like retreat from your family, from the family drama, and just go study Shaker stuff and, write a book about Shaker quilts. There's a Shaker village in Maine that has a quilt store. Interesting. Well, Sherlock. Guess you're going to Maine. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Okay, one more little bouillabaisse bit for your quilt nerd enjoyment, and then I'm going to read my statement of purpose, and then we're going to take a cake break, and then we're going to come back and watch a video. Okay, We're going to watch a video. Is that what we're going to do? Yeah. No, I'm going to give you, I'm going to read the statement of purpose now. I'm going to do the announcement about the schedule, read the statement of purpose. We'll do the cake break, and then we'll come back and talk about Charbonnet Plumber. And we're going to visit Quilt Market too. Quilt Market, because there's a really good video that somebody sort of recorded everything that happened at Quilt Market a couple weeks ago. We just did a tour, and there's a couple things that she captured that are really interesting, including marbling quilt fabric. It was very interesting. Anyway, okay, so this Saturday, Quilt Nerd is going to do the season finale for 2023. There's a lot to do. This gal needs a break. The girls who help me out, I want to give them a break too. And there's I'm going to give a survey link in the Discord. If you subscribe to the show, you get a link to the Discord. And the Discord is where people hang out and communicate and chat and develop relationships and have, a lot of fun and do things. They do things. And this community has become pretty tight knit. And so if you subscribe to the show, you have access to the Discord. And so I'm going to put a link to the survey in the Discord in the next day or two, asking you, basically, I was overthinking it, and so Steph helped me, and Robin and Susanna can look over it too. I was getting a little bit in the weeds on it, but I just want to ask you all, just very simply, what platform you might like to, where Quilt Nerd will be going next, what you might prefer to see, or what you would respond to in terms of how the next phase of Quilt Nerd might happen. And so it'll be a short survey by a Survey Monkey. You don't have to have an account, I don't think, to take a Survey Monkey quiz. A Survey Monkey survey. So look for that. I'll also try to get it. Well, I'll give the link on Saturday as well on the last show of the season, because I really want your input about the next stage of Quilt Nerd, because it's not going away, but for the rest of the year, with so much to do and the holidays, I think it's best to end the season on Saturday. And the Saturday show is at 4 p.m. Central, because we have friends who are in other parts of the world who are in the replay gang because they can't watch the show live. And so it would be really great to be able to at least make the opportunity for them, the possibility for them to join us live. So on Saturday, the season finale of Quilt Nerd is at 4 p.m. But wait, there's more. For the Tier 2 and Tier 3 subscribers, usually we have a Sunday social. And the Sunday social would be this Sunday at 11. But instead of doing that, what I'd rather do is do a pregame show, or a pregame party, right? An hour before the regular show begins. So that's the invitation at 3 p.m. Central this afternoon, Saturday afternoon. We'll get together. You'll get a link, like usual, to a YouTube private stream, and we'll hang out together and have some time together as a group before the regular show begins at 4 p.m. So that's the idea. That's the scoop. Okay. Yeah. I think I got it. Did I get it? Yeah. Oh yeah. There's one other thing we're gonna do after the break. I forgot. We're gonna do a short, or like a quick round of when was it made? Brought to you by Quilt Nerd. I've got 5 quilts that kind of threw me a little bit, and I was like, I think we should do a when was it made. So we're gonna do a when was it made speed round. Okay. So here we go. This is my grad school essay, okay? No account needed for Survey Monkey surveys. Okay, I am very glad to hear it, because who wants to enter their email, right? All right, so this isn't long. You needn't worry about that. I think, a lot of the places, about 1,000 words, the limit for applying to these programs. You get about 1,000 words to state your purpose. And so I'm going to state my purpose to you all. And this is the one, I'm tailoring, of course, each statement of purpose to the specific school. So I'm reading the one that I'm sending to Brown, to you. And when I get to the part where I talk about specific professors, I'm just going to skip that because like it doesn't matter. But otherwise, here you go. All right. The American quilt is a shapeshifter. Born an object of domestic utility, she stayed home for more than 200 years. Then one day, she got out of bed and placed herself on museum walls around the world, determined to be seen as art, not mere craft. Quilts today appear in galleries, fashion, and graphic design. But in many cases, this has required the quilt to reject her original identity, to change the very definition of what a quilt is. Since quilts have long reflected changes in American society, we know America is shape-shifting too. I think about quilts a lot. My single mother built a media empire around quilts while raising me and my sisters. We watched as she and other enterprising women in the 1970s built a $4 billion U.S. commercial quilt industry. Mom and I taught millions of people how to quilt on her PBS show, Love of Quilting, where I applied my experience as a Chicago stage performer to the quilt world. I eventually started my own successful show, Quilty, which ran on YouTube for 5 years. These projects hooked me on the stories of quilts and their makers. At 37, I decided to pursue my master's at SAIC, where I could study fibers academically and become a better writer. During that time, I was offered the editor-in-chief position at Quilt Folk, a groundbreaking magazine that takes an anthropological approach to quilts. I traveled America, learning and writing America's quilt stories. My relationship with quilts was changing. I felt called to be a steward of a history that has yet to be accurately told. During the pandemic, I created Quilt Nerd. That's for you. A public scholarship project on Twitch. And I recently learned that my paper. I recently had good news about something that I wrote. My practice continues to be a combination of intense research, writing, and sharing. Acquiring methodological and pedagogical skills is critical for what I want to do next, which means it's time for a PhD. My topic touches many disciplines, including women's studies, art history, material culture, and anthropology. But as a born interdisciplinarian, I know I belong in American studies. The objects themselves are interesting, but my questions concern the quilt's identity more broadly. In the 1970s, for example, collectives such as the Freedom Quilting Bee in Alabama, the West Virginian Mountain Artisans, and the indigenous quilt makers known as Missouri Breaks in South Dakota were profitable, but only briefly. Studying these groups provides insights into how domestic labor finds or loses its place in the market. And consider that since Mom was my age, quilting has experienced rapid commercialization and staggering technological change. A true folk art for generations, quilting aesthetics and processes were shared via family or community, but today, most aspiring quilters learn from a single source, YouTube. This pivot in how American women make our nation's emblematic textile is a case study in how digital technologies are changing the very fabric of our society. Brown University values quilts and quilt scholarship. Evidence can be found in lecture series programming and campus exhibitions. I was astonished, to learn your library holds the papers of late scholar Elaine Hedges, who played a huge part in my decision to study American quilt culture in the first place. Having access to her collection would be extraordinary. And then I talk about the faculty, okay, blah, 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 blah. What's more, your university's location in New England, the cradle of American quilt civilization, is yet another reason Brown makes perfect sense. A little bit more. My development and career goals include designing and teaching interdisciplinary courses that use textiles as a focus to engage the next generation of critical thinkers. And as a future curator, such as the Metropolitan Museum's Amelia Peck, a Brown graduate, I could help shape the narrative for artists who employ quilts in their practice while continually refreshing the public's connection to our country's most democratic art. This is the last paragraph. What's accepted as quilt history today is badly in need of revision. Voices have been excluded, essential periods and events overlooked out of ignorance or prejudice. At Quilt Folk magazine, I worked hard to change that, but it's time to go bigger. My dissertation work would track the quilt within American society and visual culture from the dawn of our nation to the present day. I plan to write discrete chapters of key areas, ultimately producing the first ever comprehensive, professional, inclusive history of quilts in America. Trust me, this book does not exist. I see the text similar to Sven Beckert's Empire of Cotton, a trade book of genuine scholarship. This quilt nerd hopes to join your department this fall as a passionate and dedicated collaborator. Thank you for your consideration. That took 2 months, by the way. And if it's decent, and I am proud of it, I'm proud of it because I know how hard it was. And also I had several people take a look. I had Eric look at it. I had my friend Elizabeth look at it. I had my friend Joe look at it. And I mean, the whiteboard action that got for a long time, and how many versions there were. This looks nothing like the first version I did, you know? It looks nothing like the second version I did. And I have been watching videos, and I have been reading stuff, and I have been talking to professors. I mean, it's just to get there. Good writing, if it gets there, is so hard. I mean, it's just, anyway. So I'm happy with it. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know, man. Hey, Yakamo, it's good to see you. Hey, Penny. Standing, oh, I'm right. It is decent. Okay, thanks, Mademoiselle. You know, and the thing is, I read it because it's good to read it out loud. I wanted to read it to you because you're my peeps, and this is what I've been trying to do. And also, you know, this is, you know, this person, this professor I talked to at Yale, he said, and I think I mentioned this last time, maybe, but he said, no matter what happens with the outcome, the process of applying to a PhD program, if you're taking it seriously, is extremely valuable. And I was like, he's telling me it's not gonna work, you know, it's like, don't, and it might not, but he's right. And writing a statement of purpose, like, what am I trying to do? What have I done? Where am I? He's 1,000% right. And trying to get that motherfucker on paper and figure it out, it's highly recommended if you want to be physically ill for a couple months. I mean, it's really, what have I done? And where am I going? And what do I really want to do? I can't write that kind of book without help. You know, to have access to professors in African American studies departments is really, to try to do it, to try to write a real history, the true history of quilts in America, without being able to talk to professors who understand. There are sources that I need to be able to write something like that. I have no idea. I've never heard of them. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I want to do this, because if I'm going to write a book like that, I can't do it with the sources I have in my library, because a lot of them are inaccurate. They're either inaccurate or they're inadequate. So I have to have sources beyond what I have, and I don't know what they are. And so I have to be able to ask people who may be able to help me. And so that's why I want to do it. And so figuring that out and putting it down, wrestling it like a bear, you know, until it's like on the ground has been very, very helpful. And so if you ever think about doing something like that, that process is actually pretty good. So anyway. Hey, Druid. Thank you for subscribing. You've subscribed for over a year, 13 months. Hey, man. Earth Girl, I'm proud to be a quilt nerd too. Did you notice? Twice. And in the last line, this quilt nerd asked to be part of your program, blah, blah, blah. Okay. That's enough. Thanks, everybody. That's right, Sherlock. I'm glad. Darcy, I just hope I can get into at least one place so I can come back and tell you all that that's what's going on. So anyway, okay, cake break, yeah? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Let's do the cake break.
I have to say, you're a brilliant writer, Mary, and
Thanks.
I loved hearing that.
I'm so glad.
I always love hearing those things.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I do love writing, even though George Orwell said it best. He's like, you know, writing a book is like undergoing a terrible illness, and no one should ever do it unless you're willing to, you know, it's really true. I mean, and just last night I gave the last draft to Eric, and I was like, read it for typos. And he was like, he read it, he didn't make any notes, and then he's like, okay, I have some notes. And I was like, no, I just can't, you got to, you know, it's abandoned. It's not finished, it's abandoned. You have to just abandon it. And one of the schools I'm applying to, the limit is 750 words. So I had to cut, that's like 900 words. I had to cut it down. It's horrible. Anyway, okay, thank you all for listening. I really appreciate it. And let's go to the cake break, and I'll be right back. Okay? Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Here we go. Oh,
Well, friends, some of you I saw earlier today. So I'm going to say things to you you've heard before. Before I forget, the important news is if you do come to my stream this week, I need to remind people that I had to shift my days because it's a crazy week. I've got a gig tomorrow to do my Dutton lecture for a guild, and it's out of town, so I'm traveling. So usually I do Mondays and Thursdays, 2 p.m. Eastern time. But this week we will do Friday, 2 p.m. And Jill, and I will be presenting some of the things Jill has for Black Friday or Cyber Monday or Small Business Saturday or whichever one you're doing, Jill. So yes, tune in if you are available on Friday to my stream to check out what Jill has, because she is showing us things that she will not put out until after Thanksgiving for the rest of the world. So yes, cake is going on tour. I am very excited to report that I have multiple gigs now. So tomorrow I will be doing my lecture for a quilt guild, and in March I will be doing my lecture for the Baltimore Applique Society. So yeah, and I still need to do a version for Quilt Nerds, and I am going to do that. I've been promising on my streams, so it will be available to you guys. I have to finish the other stuff first, but I'm going to record a version for you guys so that it will be available to you. So yeah, what I did yesterday was very fun. And it's something that I think if you don't have a local study group, then I would say to you guys, start one. I got to go to a study group that I believe has been around. They've been doing it for like 30 years. And it is, it's totally informal. The one that I went to was at a woman's house who just, she kindly, volunteers to be the hostess, sometimes, and we all converge on her house, and she clears off the dining room table, puts the leaves back in it so it's bigger, and we spread out quilts. I looked at them, and it is so fun. Yes, and it is in Mia's hometown. Mia, of course, is not there anymore. She is in another state, but it was so much fun, and it was also in a beautiful location, but it doesn't matter where you get together, look at quilts. So, and I don't think I saw Bridgewater here tonight, but she also goes to a similar study group down in Virginia. And so, just getting together with like whatever you have, quilt tops, quilts, pictures of quilts, all the goodies that go along with it, blocks, all that kind of stuff. Nothing's stopping you from getting together and looking at those things and studying them. And I think that's, I'm not trying to volunteer myself to do anything because I have way too much on my plate, but I keep thinking, like, there's nothing like that in Central Maryland. We have Western Maryland Study Group and an Eastern Maryland Study Group, and we got nothing in the middle. And so somebody needs to start that. So we're my Maryland people. I don't see Mother Nature here tonight, but one of us probably needs to start something like that because, it's great to be able to just like hang out, one Saturday or one evening or one afternoon every few months and just look at what you got. Yeah, Sherlock, it's historical stuff. In this case, yes, it's quilt study. So it's, the kind of things that we do at AQSG, except you don't have to be a member at AQSG to go to a local quilt study. Some of these groups, again, are like really informal. Some of them are more formal. Yeah. Yes. The reason why we never see Molly anymore is because besides raising a child and having a demanding job. And apparently she recently had surgery. I don't know if you follow Molly, you know this. But yes, she is on every committee there is. And I think Mia is too. So God bless our people that will join every committee there is. We love you.
Yeah. These people make the world go around, right? They keep it. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Do you have anything else, Steph?
No, that was it. I mean, really I had so much fun yesterday and just, encouraging people. I mean, I hate to say it, but a lot of our quilt scholarship is with older people.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be here forever. And so if you know of a person who has, experience or interest in older quilts and maybe has a collection, then, hit them up.
Yeah.
And, can I come look at your collection? Can we talk about your collection? Can we look at your quilts?
Yep. Yeah. And
cool thing to do.
It is a cool thing to do. And I mean, people, as we've, figured out and experienced, like, those folks are usually very excited that you called or emailed or, whatever, because I mean, they have this history and they, who does care about it. And someone comes along and they're like, I care about it. It's like the best thing ever. I hope somebody, imagine being like 83 years old and some young whippersnapper's like, I found Quilt Nerd on YouTube. Can you tell me about that? I'd be like, well, let me make you a cup of tea. Yes, I would like that. Seriously, how cool would that be? So that's a good point.
Yeah, and honestly, I know not all of us have a huge collection or even a burgeoning collection, but I would say out of all of the quilt nerds that I have met personally and or talked to multiple times, you probably have something that is vintage or antique.
Yep.
That would be interesting to other people.
Yep.
I mean, it's, so.
Yep. Good. Cool. A good word. Thanks, Kate.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mia just
Tell me.
mentioned something I would also mention to you guys.
Yeah.
That she recorded her aunt's quilting story. And I believe it was on a
Nice.
drive. Mia, if I remember correctly, it was on a long drive. And you just turned on the voice app on your phone or whatever and just got her to start talking. And I think that's an incredible thing to do.
That's nice.
If there is an older person
Heck
in your
yeah.
life that made you a quilt or taught you how to quilt or whatever it is, like, get them to talk about it.
Heck yeah. That's great. Good call. That's very good call. Excellent. All right. Cool. Well, let's press on. And there's still some stuff we got to do. Oh, wait, hang on. Let me do that and that and that. Okay, here we go. So we are going to, speaking of cool, like, women, cool chicks, and PhD people, this is Sharon Plumber. And folks who were at AQSG seminar in October in Louisville, some of us met Sharon Plumber, Dr. Plumber, and I've been talking with her. We're making plans to get together because she moved to Chicago, which is totally great. So I wanted to introduce you, and I also got in the mail like 2 days ago, something that here, Steph, here's the link. I forgot to give you this one. So she has a zine or a chapbook. I'm not sure what to call it. She wrote something called Diasporic Threads. Wait, hold on. Let me get my screen up here. For the show on Saturday, I'm going to scan some of this book because she talks about it's called Diasporic Threads, Black Women, Fiber, and Textiles by Dr. Sharon Plumber. And then also it's Common Threads Press. It came from the UK. I'm not sure that there's like a stockist in the US. So, to get it was a little bit, it came from the UK. So the shipping and stuff, all that. But also I ordered the Norfolk Trans Joy Community Quilt Zine. So both of these are here now, but they just came and I was doing all my stuff. So I will scan some really interesting content in both of these for Saturday's show. And I was thinking like we could do like a party show, or I could like make videos of like the year in review. But to be honest with you, and this is not, I'm telling you sincerely, this is not because I don't want to like sit and edit a video. I love this show. I love this kind of show. I love talking to you about stuff I found. I want to do the show. The last show of the year, I want it to be this show because this is what I love. And so we're gonna do a Quilt Nerd classic, you know. And so I'll get some really interesting content from here because Chabrion talks about, you know, LaShonda Crow Storm, you know, her work. So I'm gonna introduce you to some of the people in this zine. Okay. Hey, Angelina. Well, I love you, girl. Hell. Oh yeah, Chabrion is like, yeah, extremely beautiful and stylish. M. Sujan called it. So here's who Chabrion is, okay? She has a website. These are some pictures from her website. Here's her about page, okay? Chabrion Plumber, PhD, doesn't that sound cool, you know? So amazing. Is a strategist, researcher, educator, and artist with over 13 years of nonprofit management experience with an emphasis on the arts. Her practice has involved cultivating resources and programs for communities of creators across the South whose work advances freedom, liberation, and social change. Dr. Plumber has facilitated and presented work at institutions such as Project Row Houses, the African American Museum in Philadelphia, Rhode Island School of Design, Americans for the Arts, Berkeley Art Museum, and Pacific Archive, and several others. Here she is giving a talk at SAIC. This is interesting. Quilting and Activism. It's interesting. That's here in Chicago. A few of her creative projects include her internationally distributed zine. Yeah, okay, she called it a zine. Diasporic Threads, Black Women, Fiber and Textiles, published in 2022, and curatorial projects such as Stitching Abolition and Mirrored Migration. She's also been featured as an artist in residence at Rogers Art Loft in Las Vegas, Arctopia in Oaxaca, Mexico. She's the co-founder of Stitch Times Stitch, a multidisciplinary convening that examines the intersection of textile-based making, healing, and abolitionism across history. In conclusion here, she applies the intersection of her management and creative experience as leader of AYA Thought Studio, a creative consulting firm that empowers organizations and individuals to turn their ideas, visions, and values into reality. She earned her PhD in Arts Administration, Education, and Cultural Policy from The Ohio State University. So she's cool, and we are going to watch a brief video that she did. It's 10 minutes. I'm going to put it on a little bit. I had it way sped up, and it was too fast. I'm going to put it a little bit faster, 1.25. The video, there's some sound. I think they're at like a reception or something. These folks, hold on. So it's Chabrion and Dynasty Creatives is the channel. It's Talking Textiles with Dr. Chabrion Plumber. And the link will, Steph put the link in the chat. This was a year ago in Baton Rouge. So there's stuff going on in the background, but I screened the video and it's okay. It's okay, but it's not like filmed in like a studio. So just know that. Okay. So let's take a look. Talking Textiles with Dr. Chabrion Plumber.
Hey y'all, so I'm super excited, super excited to be sitting here with Dr. Chabrion Plumber. She is amazing, she's an artist, she's an intellect, just all around great girl, okay? So glad to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited to talk to you and to share all about my passions with fiber and textiles and a little bit about my practice.
So stay tuned, it's gonna be that down.
Music, my culture, you will see.
Oh, God. So great.
How did you get started in textiles and fabrics? And what does it mean to be a fabric artist?
Those are all great questions. So, funny enough, textiles, fabric, all that stuff has always been something that I love. I've always adored. You know, you just find yourself drawn to things. And I don't know if it's just I'm a textural person, like even with what we have on, the patterns, the richness. I love seeing unique color combinations, that sort of thing. So it's kind of always just been a point of interest. But funny enough, as I got older, and I would talk to my grandmother, two things came up. My great-great-grandmother used to cook. And then her daughter, my great-grandmother, that I had the pleasure of having in my life over 20 years, she was and she always had the most fabulous clothes. And when she passed away, I inherited all those things. And so it shifted from really me being this person that was sort of enamored with textiles to now wanting to do a deeper inquiry because I had these artifacts that were attached to a person that was no longer with me. But to be a fabric artist, you know, some people are like, this, that. And my entry point was quilting, but at this point, I'm open to everything. I think At the root of it, as a woman, especially as a Black woman, fiber and textiles and fabric are things that we have utilized in so many different ways, and we've imbued so much meaning on. And not just for us, but women of all backgrounds across various cultures. As you start to like understand these different cultural representations, using Central America as an example, you think about Peruvian garments, Guatemalan garments, all these different things. They all have their own sort of special meaning, and that sort of memory making is most of the time heralded by women.
Memory making and women, that is a great segue into the next part. And I want to talk about women.
I put it at normal speed and turned on the closed captioning. There you go.
And Black women specifically, and the history of quilting. Both of our designs kind of have this patchwork kind of situation going on. Can you touch on quilting and women and Black history and how rich and important it is that we recognize that?
Yes. And please feel free to cut me off because you know I talk about this all day. I love it. But you know, as someone who is born and raised in the South, we understand the legacy and history of enslavement and sort of all of the different cultural artifacts and memory that we brought with us. And so often when we think about enslavement, we think about the Middle Passage, it's something that's super traumatic, but it's also something that I find to be fascinating and beautiful because out of that pain, we had all of these cultural fusions and things that we were able to bring into this country. Historically, you'll find people used to write about women who were enslaved as these sort of second hands to mistresses on the plantation, when in fact they were creating their own work. They were the authors and originators of their own designs and techniques. So when you see these patchwork designs like we have on, you can think about how it's sort of in many ways like this homage to a group of women who took what they had as a people. We know that very well, right? We take the remnants that people, you know, try to give to us, and we make something beautiful and something fantastic out of it. And so even from that time to present day, quilts have continued to be what I call this archive, this space where you can learn about a family's history, learn about a woman's history through the work of...
I like that, archive. I haven't really thought about, you know, like that, applying that word, archive. That's really cool.
The hand. So Black women have been utilizing quilting for a very long time as a way to not only create cultural memory, to clothe and shield and keep their families warm and protected, but quilts were even utilized in areas such as Alabama and Mississippi as part of the civil rights movement. Quilts and other fabric-based goods were sold and used to raise money to support freedom fighters, and quilting bees were a space where Black women could get together, they could talk about just things they were going through, enjoy one another's company. So it was a space of both proactivity, where Black women could get together, organize, and talk about things that were happening in their community, but then also it was this place of joy and leisure, and that's something that I personally enjoy exploring the most because we don't talk about Black women's joy enough, in my opinion.
So if people want to get into quilting today, like how can people get started?
Oh my gosh, so many ways. So one thing I love, I should backtrack, that I love about quilting is that it is a very intergenerational process. So if you have a loved one, a grandmother, an aunt, your mom, your sister, whoever, that can teach you how to quilt, that's to me one of the best ways to learn, because you're creating this memory with this person. And that's something that's very beautiful that you can ascribe to this new artifact that y'all make together. But YouTube University, child. Anything you want to know, it is on YouTube. There are across various cities, if you look up quilting bees, quilting circles, you also have your big box stores like Joann and things like that that might host classes, or even a local sewing shop. I highly recommend you support your local business.
Oh my God, these photos.
So there are a couple things I'm really excited about as it pertains to my own journey in writing about and working with quilters across the country. One being Quilt Folk is a publication that I write for.
Whoa, I didn't know that. I didn't know she talked about Quilt Folk. Are you serious? Dude. Well, that's cool.
2 issues and working on a 3rd. And in those, I'm able to highlight and spotlight just everyday women, amazing people who are working at the intersection of personal practice, some people, social justice, different things like that. So those are a few different things you can look into. Quilt Folk. Also, I'm working with a group called Common Threads Press, based in the UK. And we're working on a publication called Diasporic Threads that highlights Black women, fiber, and textiles. And I've had the pleasure of being able to condense my dissertation down a little bit, because I know y'all don't want to be 400 pages. Into a little bit of text that kind of talks about the context and history that I was talking about with Colby. And we were also able to interview 7 different women across the U.S. who all work at the intersection of textiles and sort of lived experience.
And we'll talk about those.
And then at the end, we actually aggregated this sort of repository of Black women working in vibrant textiles across the country. And actually the world, in a few different countries. But it's over 100 Black women who submitted as part of this directory. And once it's published and out there, you'll be able to scan a QR code and learn about all of these different artists across the world.
What is the difference between a quilt and a blanket?
Well, a quilt can be a blanket, but a blanket can't be a quilt. Okay,
Nice,
but
nice,
in all
nice.
seriousness, when I think of a blanket can be sort of just one large, piece of cloth that might have a border around it. It's something that we wrap up in. It's something, when I hear the word blanket, I think of something more commercially produced. And when I think of a quilt, I think of care, I think of love and compassion. I think about work of the hand, and I think about an artistic eye, a creative eye. So many quilters now either work from a pattern, they create, their own designs in their mind. There's an added level of intention and to me thoughtfulness that goes into creating a quilt, in addition to all the little technical pieces I won't bore y'all with. But yeah, I think that a quilt possesses deeper meaning and significance, whereas a blanket can be a bit more detached. It doesn't have that same depth of meaning.
Nice, right? Very interesting person. Yeah, very excited to talk with her more. And yeah, that's Sharon Plumber. And part of the show next time we'll just be looking at some of the people that she talks about in that book. And we'll also check out the Norfolk Transgender Community Quilt Scene. Hell yeah. So Common Threads Press, thank you so much. All right, so in the time that we have tonight, a level of intention, I love that. Me too. Drink wine at Solin. Yeah, exactly, Sherlock. That was good. That was a good video. Rotha. What is Rotha? What does that mean, babe? I don't know that word. I like it though. All right, so we are gonna play. Steph, do you know? Do you know Rotha? Do you know Rotha? No. Okay. I thought maybe you had an insight on that, but I don't know. So you tell us, babe. Okay, here we go. Let me go over here. All right.
Oh,
Yeah.
Is she instead of saying rather? She's
Oh,
saying
Ratha. Oh, Ratha. Yes, Ratha. How fabulous is she? Ratha fabulous. Yes, exactly. What did I? Yeah, I think I say it usually. I mean, I write it with an H. I know exactly. I mean, I have the same impulse to write Ratha like that. So I get it. Okay, so let me do this and do this and do this, and we're gonna do a little round of when was it made? When was it made? Brought to you by brought to you by Quilt Nerd. So we've done this before, and we did it with my sister Hannah one time. We've done it a couple times, but sometimes I come across quilts that just, I don't know, yeah, I just think to myself that they look sort of iconoclastic, or they look like they are, I just can't tell when they were made, or I just like them. And I want to show you them. And here are a few quilts that fit that profile. And so let's take a look at a few really great quilts. And I want to know when you think that these quilts were made. And so this quilt, I'm going to zoom in. You can see that I scanned it, and it had a tab on it. I love a tab. I tab a lot of books. Okay, so I'm gonna come up here. I'm gonna show you the full thing again, okay? And then I'm gonna zoom in. All right, so let's zoom in on this thing. What's really interesting is, if Mia's still here, and hey Amy, hey honey, and Ivy's here. Hi honey. We've had a really fun show. It's been a really fun show. And now it's better because you're here. So anyway, so we're doing a quick when was it made round. I think I have like 6 quilts to show you. And this one, what do you think? What do you think about this quilt? When do you think it was made? Okay. Mia had to peace out. Okay. L. Riggs is getting 1980 vibes. Yep. 1979, says Robin. 1970, 1972. Yeah, everybody's in agreement so far that this is a quilt made in, the last quarter of the 20th century. Very nice. Cake, what do you think?
The last quarter of the 19th century. I feel like this is what I can't see the patches up that close to say, but I've been looking at a lot of quilts like this recently, and I'm like,
Interesting.
This has definitely got an 80s, 90s vibe, but sneaky.
Right.
Those people at the end of the 19th century, they were up to something too. So
Mm-hmm.
I think we're probably right that it is like 80s, 90s, but you never know. It could be 1987. It could be 1887.
Exactly, right? And Sherlock is coming in with 1921. She's like, no, I'm thinking that this is much earlier. And I think, by the way, that like the border brown and this blue, to me, that does say like 1980, like fully, like this could be, you know, in Fons and Porter magazine and like 1990 or whatever the heck, you know, this is like, I think maybe it's the brown and the pink. I mean, I know, well, no, that doesn't make sense. I don't know. To me, it seems very 1980s. It seems very 1980s. But Word and Bird Nerd says, wait, I see that brown fabric in my first quilt that I made in 1978. I love brown and red together, Druid. And Sherlock says, I'm saying earlier because it's actually scrappy. Like there's parts of it that don't match. Interesting. All right. Would you like to know? Would you like to know what it is? I don't know. I don't have like a drum roll. 1920. Sherlock, you were right on the money. You said 1921. Interesting year to pick. It's a Mennonite quilt from 1920. It's in a book of Mennonite quilts, right, Steph? Like you had your doubts.
I can see what makes it Mennonite.
Yep.
It's got this it's what they've called a rainbow setting.
Ah.
I feel like this, and not so much that I'm not talking about the way that square in a square situation
Sure.
in the middle, but the way that the color progression, they would pick a certain color progression, and it usually was like the Roy G. Biv or Roy G.
Yeah.
They would do 4 reds, 4 yellows, 4 oranges, 4 greens, 4 blues.
Interesting.
And this looks like there was some fugitive dye.
Yep.
But this is kind of that scheme. But it looks like this maker said, I'm going to do the normal thing we do, but then I'm going to do this weird thing with a square and a square in the middle.
Yeah, totally. I mean, God, it's so good. It's so good. It's so good. And it does seem like it's just 80 years before its time. I would have definitely said, or wait, is that right? 80 years? Anyway, I would have said that it was the 1980s or 60 years before its time.
It totally got the 80s vibe.
Yeah.
And it got that the square in the middle, that situation is very modern looking.
Yes, it is.
Normally you would just see this as just, like just radiating out without those dark corners,
Yep.
That's what makes it different.
Yep. Angelina, I love that comment. I know so much more than when I started watching this show, and I still get blown away every time we play this. Same. And I have a little folder, that it's, for when was it made, and it's the quilts that blow me away as well. Okay. This is, this is funny, but it's sort of ironic, but I wanted to include it because it makes a point. So this is Carson Ellis. And when was this made? Hold on. When was this made? I'll zoom in here. Let's go from the start, or from the top. Doctors and nurses, hold fast. Hang tight. Only children. This is a really great quilt, I think, by the artist Carson Ellis. And the reason that I wanted to show it is because, there are still quilts today, there are quilts today that 1,000%, can be dated by their content. A quilt that's a victory quilt, a World War II quilt, obviously, if it says V for victory and it's red, white, and blue and it's got, bring our boys home or something like that, it's of its time because it's referencing things that are happening in the world at the time. And the date shows, does it? Oh yeah, 2020. Here it is down by Betts's butt down there. Yeah, 2020. And you know, it's like it's okay. So it's on the quilt. That's funny, but it's also got this, you know, coronavirus symbol and stuff. And I thought it was, you know, I had it in my folder because to make that point, right? That we know when this quilt was made because the date's on it. But also wear a mask. I mean, it's really, really wild. I mean, this is our time. This is a quilt from our time, and the Red Cross symbol, wear a mask, doctors and nurses, right? It's great, isn't it, Steph?
But yes, absolutely. This is a very interesting quilt.
Yeah.
I don't know what the cat lion situation with the apple and the face and all these sun rays and stuff. It's very interesting. I do like stuff like this, but go 75 years in the future and with no context and no date, wear a mask, and the Red Cross and all that stuff could also be the flu pandemic in the early 1900s.
Exactly. 1918
So, yeah,
Spanish flu.
I mean, we have the frame of reference now. We know, like, the coronavirus ball of horribleness is like fresh in our minds. But yeah, I mean, give it some time, and I could easily see somebody confusing this with an earlier, you know, some weirdo art quilt from the early 1900s.
Yep, totally. You see the pictures from the Spanish flu, you know, people saying, you know, wear a mask or protect yourself or something like that, right?
Yeah, it was, they were gauze masks
that
they used.
Yeah, scary, terrifying. Yeah,
just like a screen door mask.
Yeah.
That'll save you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, some people looked like the Invisible Man. Some people looked like they were, victims of terrible accidents. But yeah, and again, Carson Ellis made this, and this person, I really like their work a lot. And so this is a sign of the times, you know, that this is a quilt from our time, and we know when it was made because we recognize it. You know, we recognize the content of the quilt. So anyway, so that's an easy one, but making a point. Okay. All right. What about this one? When was it made? Yay, let's all play it. Okay. So when do you think this quilt, whoops, hang on now. Hold on, Charbrion, get yourself back in there. What are you doing? Okay. Sorry. All right. So when was it made? I'm gonna come into it. I'm gonna work on that here. Just a minute. Yeah. Okay. Great. All right. What do you think? On this quilt? This quilt is gold, lovely golds. Deep teal, little brick red. The photograph is pretty good. I mean, the image is pretty good. You can't see the quilting as well as I'd like you to see it, but actually I'm looking at the screen that you're looking at, and it's all right. Okay, we've got some folks who say early 60s. Jacomb Jellies says the 1060s. You probably meant the 1960s. It's a quilt from the Middle Ages. About 1960s. Swag. Yep, 1970, says Ivy. Early 60s, 70. People are hitting it right in 1962, you know, between 1960 and 1970. Elle Riggs is going a little bit earlier with 1953. Hey, Hope is here. It's so good to see you. 1960s. Everybody's hitting, except for Jacomb Jellies, who's saying it's Middle Ages. No, I'm just kidding. I'm trolling you. You're all going for about that mid-century to 1970s. Although Drink Wine and Sew Lynn is going a little bit earlier. Okay, Drink Wine and Sew Lynn's going for 1930s, and Finn McCool says swag means super wild ass guess. I like that. I do that all the time. Cake 1066, William the Conqueror's quilt. That's right. Oh, sorry, I'm not doing a very good job of driving the ship because I want to show you the whole thing again. Hang on. All right. Where are you at? What? Oh, yeah, here we go. Yeah, so this is the full thing. There is a certain mid-century vibe to it, isn't there? You know, I mean, there is. It's the gesture of the line. Yeah, Cake.
You can see it on the wall behind an Eames chair. I mean, come on.
You really can. And wouldn't you like to? You know, wouldn't I just like to have my Eames chair and my... Hang on, let me do something here. My screen locked a little bit. I'm gonna get it back. Acorn, you're gonna be just fine. You don't need to worry. Hang on. So this quilt was made in... Hold on. I know you're all waiting with bated breath. Okay, hold on. Hang on. I have to get to my little page here because my Acorn screen is a little bit shy at the moment. Okay, we're fine. Great. Okay, there it is. Sorry. Okay, so this quilt was made in 1965. Very good. Very well done. It's untitled. It's by Charles Counts and Rubinell Counts, as in Count Chocula, you know, but plural. Counts, Rubinell Counts and Charles Counts, and members of the New Salem community in 1965. So, Charles Counts, I will read to you about this person. So Charles Counts. So here's something from a website. I think I've got the ability to put it in the chat, so I'm going to do it. Didn't know if I'd be able to do it or not. So quote: "Art is a disease. There's no cure for it." Unquote. This quote sums up the life of Charles Counts. Art infected, quote unquote, Charles Counts as a schoolboy in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and became his way of life. He was the epitome of the Renaissance man, practicing various disciplines such as quilting, weaving, rug hooking, drawing, painting, philosophy, poetry, and intellectual thinking. All right. But he became most well known for his pottery and teaching. So he was part of the Black Mountain College, I believe, in the 1960s. So, and I don't know for sure, and I shouldn't say this unless I know, but I think Betts Ramsey went to Black Mountain for a hot minute. I think so. I think she did. I could be wrong, but I think that she did. Yeah?
Amy seems to know Black Mountain. So.
Oh, yeah. Amy, I mean, Black Mountain College is a thing, and is it still open? Does it still doing its thing? I don't know if it is. I'm going to show you something. When was it made? Hang on. Desktop. Just want to show you another. Hang on. I've got a couple other quilts by Charles Counts that I'm going to show you. So anyway, Black Mountain College was a prominent. I think the Bauhaus. Sorry, I should have had a printout of this. But the Bauhaus in Germany had something to do with it, or people who taught at Black Mountain College had trained at the Bauhaus. So it was this, did you find that, Steph? I'm like asking you to do something I should have had before, but hang on, let me open a couple other.
Yeah, it looks like they're still around.
Okay, cool. Here, this is a couple other, an image of other quilts by Charles Counts and Rubinell, actually, I think, because his partner did a lot of work with him as well. Let me, come on now. I don't know, my computer is being a little slow tonight, guys. I apologize. I want to, here we go. All right. So as you can see, those are three. I think the middle image is a rug, I'm pretty sure, but the image on the left and on the right are quilts, and the image on the right is another version, I believe, of the one that we just saw. So the Charles Counts was this, mid-century artist, and he really is known for his pottery, but he's also known for he's also known for doing some of these quilts, and Black Mountain College was part of his thing. And so it says that the Wikipedia entry says the Bauhaus movement had a lasting effect on 20th century art and craft and influenced Charles Count's work. And so you've got that going on, and the promotion of Appalachian arts and crafts. Charles Counts was concerned that traditional crafts of Appalachia would be lost with the cultural changes devolving from migration from rural America to cities and from the mountain south to manufacturing regions of the north. He's really interesting. He's really very interesting. And Robert Shaw ran a picture of this quilt. Of the quilt I just showed you, the yellow one that we looked at. Ran a picture of that, and I think the art of the quilt in his book, The Art of the Quilt, and in the paper that I wrote and submitted to AQSG, that I hope to tell you about soon. I think including a picture of that quilt, I think that's going to be one of the images I want to include, because his work with quilts and the intersection of fine art and quilts and craft, I think he's really important. And I also like that he worked in like a communal sort of way. I think that's really neat. The quilting on this quilt is terrific. Here's one of the reasons that going to a college would be really great is that like I don't know where to find information on Charles Counts. I find this image on the internet, and I find an image of the one quilt I showed you. I don't know where to find more information on Charles Counts' quilts. Having access to a library that can get me anything, or having access to somebody who's like, oh yeah, Charles Counts, this person wrote a book on him. I don't know how to get that stuff. I mean, World Cat and stuff like that, but anyway. So this is a really interesting person. So you're all right, mid-century. It was kind of a softball, but I wanted to talk about him. Okay. This is a really, really exciting. When was it made? That's what we're playing. When was it made? What era, what period, what year do you think that this quilt exhibit was mounted? When do you think? Hold on. Yeah. So take a look. How does that picture strike you in terms of quilt exhibits? It's obviously a museum exhibit of quilts, and if you know something about when quilts have been exhibited, I'm actually going to hide myself for a second. So that you can see the full Monty here. You've got quilts stretched between, in these frames. Look at that whole cloth quilt, sort of stretched. The photo is, black and white. I don't know. I don't want to influence you. But if you think about when quilts were exhibited in art museums, you all know a fair amount about this kind of thing. One of those is a coverlet that's been hung or stretched. And then there's text on this beam, which is interesting too, which I hadn't noticed really until this moment. So here's the full picture. When do you think this was? All right, excellent. God, I love this game. Hope says 2000. Yakamo, 1999. 1980, the Flints are high. 1925 says Finn McCool. Angelina says about 1985. 1970s, Cake saying. M. Hicks, 1950s, 60s, 55. We're all over the map, which I love, right? I love. This is a provocative image. Steph, what did you say? 19...
I said 70s.
70s, yeah.
I don't think we display quilts like that anymore, so I don't think it's recent, but I could be totally wrong.
Yep. Ooh, yeah, the lights. Sherlock's like, I can't get into the stretching. It's making me feel uncomfortable. It doesn't feel like standard practice. Based on the lighting, I think it's more recent, says L. Riggs. Earth Girl. Hey, Earth Girl, 1984. I'm reading 1984, by the way, literally right now. 1997. After seeing the writing on the column, more recent. Oh, I love it. This is great. Okay. Yeah. Kate, what? Yeah. I thought you were. I thought I saw you approaching the mic. So, okay. Well, this picture was taken in 1960. And I'm going to show you where it comes from. So, in this paper that I worked on, that I wrote, I found something rather exciting. It was a discovery, okay? And the discovery, I want to make this large. Okay. So, most of the texts that I have found and read put the first quilt exhibition, like the first exhibition by a major museum of quilts sort of in an art context, in a fine art context. Now, the Whitney Museum show in 1971 was the biggest and most, it had the biggest impact in culture. Okay, it had this broad impact in culture. But before that, there was a show at the Newark Museum called Optical Quilts. And that's cited as like, it's a very big deal show as well. This sort of one of the first times that quilts were shown, hanging vertically on the walls of a museum that was not used to showing quilts in that context. Okay, but there was a show in 1960 called Quilts and Coverlets at the Brooklyn Museum of Art. And they did this. And I found it in my research, and I was shocked to see it. I'd never seen quilts hung like this, stretched on between these wooden planks, wooden frames. And it was very exciting to see it because that's real early, 1960. And I went to newspapers.com and the New York Times Machine, and I found reviews of the show. So people reviewed the show, and I've never seen quilts hung like this either. I've never seen them displayed in this way. And the New York Times said that there was a maze of, how did they put it? A maze of a labyrinth or something like that they called the show, and that the quilts were stretched like canvases, right, between these wooden frames. And it was in 1960. And I think this is really significant. I think it's very cool that this is there. And I was looking at different quilt studio art quilts and art quilt histories, and nobody's mentioned this. So it's exciting to find something like this, and I wanted to share it with you. And so we'll see. And it says Quilts and Coverlets, and I have to contact the Brooklyn Museum to get permission to run one of these pictures in the paper if it's published. June 21, 1960, the exhibition of American Quilts and Coverlets, featuring rare examples of color, pattern, textile, and legend, opens at the Brooklyn Museum on June 28, 1960. 19 pieces dating from 1776 are unusually displayed on huge frames arranged in a banner-like maze of a midway at a carnival or state fair. Interesting. Very, very interesting. And I know I have a book called American Quilts and Coverlets. A lot of you probably do too, from the Met Museum exhibition, but this is different. So anyway, if you want to look at those pictures, I just realized I could send you the link. There you go. Very interesting stuff. All right. Okay. We got just like one more. Yeah, revival. Yeah, exactly. Hey, Raffle. What's up, girl? Okay. I think I've got one more. When was it made? Let's see. Oh, yeah. Oh, God. I love this quilt. All right, people. What do you think? I mean, isn't this great? This is a great quilt. Oh, wait. Let me get myself back up in the chair here. Okay. I'm going to zoom in. It looks like not cyanotype, but like a relief, like some sort of shadow box or something like that. I'll zoom in here. It's a great design. God, it's good. Isn't it great? Moisturize Me, Amy. This is hilarious. Lady Cassandra and Doctor Who all stretched out. Moisturize Me. I don't know my Doctor Who, but I really like that that Kathy and Amy do. So here we go. Here's our... It's okay, says, looking at the fading fabric. I'd say late 1800s. Very interesting, Kay. Very interesting. Yeah, there is fading. It's true. Is that cheddar? I don't know if it's cheddar or not. I don't know if it qualifies. I'm not sure. God, the boldness of this, the cojones, right, of this person to be like, I'm gonna do black and gold. I just always feel when we look at quilts like this that her quilting friends were like, okay, I mean, okay, Julie, okay, Cassandra, or Charbrion, it's like, I just feel like she had to convince people that she wasn't crazy or something. I mean, maybe not. I hope not. But you don't see quilts like this every day. I don't. Maybe I need to look at more quilts, but I mean, please. 1930 says Imhex. Faded Cheddar says it's okay. Faded Cheddar. I know something about faded cheddar. 1940, Earth Girl Now. Yum, Jill Alex loves it. Same. Is that machine quilted, though? Angelina is asking. 1940, says Jan. Hey, Jan. 1890s, Robin says. Lady Cassandra, indeed. We've got 1920s from Lynn. 1880 from Kathy. 1890, 1930, 1875. People are mostly hitting about the same. Cake, what did you say? What are you thinking? 1875?
Yeah, 1875. There's a couple of things about this that make me think it's pretty old. The quilting, though, the border quilting, has got me a little confused. Yeah, but the binding, I see what they did with the binding, and that tells me it's older than it's old.
Girl, you are good. You are really good. So it's 1900. 1900. A lot of you hit right in there. There were just a few people who called it a little bit later, and to be honest with you, I did too, because of that quilting. And it didn't look like satin. It's cotton, whatever, but there was something a little bit more, slightly later than what I thought.
It's so hard to tell with solid.
I know.
It really is, and it's more like you have to touch the fabric and look at other clues.
Yep.
That's what I've been learning. You look at the binding and you look at the back, and then you look at there's certain clues within, how it's just put together, like this double border thing around these big leaves.
Yep.
Does it say what these leaves are? Because at first I was like, they look kind of like tobacco, but.
Here's what the title of the quilt is. First of all, it's a Mennonite quilt, and it's called Castor Oil Bean Leaf.
Okay.
By Hannah Geman, Gehman. It's 84 by 88. Hannah Geman, Mennonite, 1900, Castor Oil Bean Leaf. There you go.
So Amy asked me, what about the binding? Tip me off. Okay.
Yeah.
So keep it there.
Yep.
So look at the corner that's right there by Mary's shoulder.
Yep.
That is like a crisp, pointy corner.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they did was they started the binding there. But they did, today, most people are, if they do a straight binding, are going to just bind it straight up, miter to the corner, straight across, miter to the corner. But some of these older quilts, what you see that they did was they have that one corner where it butts up like a perfect, or not perfect, but you know what I mean, 90-degree angle. But they kind of wonk it around the corners. And it's because, for whatever reason, they didn't do mitered corners like we normally do. And they also were not working with bias binding. It's straight of grain binding. So they kind of have to, it makes the corners sort of, rounded off. And then they come all the way around, and then they get back to where they started, and then that's a clean join. That's pointy.
Oh.
Right? Their corners are knocked off.
That's what I do. I invented Post-its.
That is a hell of a thing. That's great. You should be certified in quilt dating. You should. That's really, to know that before you have taken a course, You know, that's pretty awesome. Like, you're really paying attention,
it's
dude.
Like, I don't know that I know like a range of dates or
Yeah.
anything, but it seems like, yeah, I mean, the way it was kind of explained was like, this is kind of what they did back in the day. Like,
Yeah.
this is, you know, they were a little bit kind of like, nah, just get it done.
I would definitely approve of that. Just get it done. It's totally fine. Okay, that was really good. I love playing that game. And the last thing we're going to do, everybody, before we go, I mentioned that I wanted to show you just like this one cool thing that I saw from a gal's video about Houston. So Quilt Market just happened, right? And, oh, wait, hold on. I have to make sure. Well, Steph's going to put the link in there, but this is M.A. Couture Crafting. We've watched her before. I think we watched, I don't know, we saw something. She goes to the shows and she does videos of what she sees. So like, yeah, Quilt Festival, Quilt Market, things like that. So she was at Quilt Market. You should all visit her channel, give her a thumbs up, watch the full video. Please do that. Anytime you watch a Quilt Nerd video that you like in any way on YouTube, please hit the like button, leave a comment. All that stuff really helps. But she found this marbling fabric kit, and this is one very short, it's what is this? It's like 4 minutes, or not even, it's like 3 minutes of her just about an hour-long video. And she is going through market or festival and looking at different things. And I just want to show you this one piece, this marbling thing, because I think it's really interesting. So here's the beginning of her video, just so she can introduce what's going on, and then I'll skip to that, and then we'll cut out for the night. Okay, here we go. That's the channel. Go to it. Give it a thumbs up.
You guys know I am a sucker for Kai scissors. They
so
are affordable.
There's not much of an intro, so let's just kick it over to the marbling thing. Okay, you ready? Here we go.
We have got...
Hold on. It's trying to catch up with me here. Okay, here we go.
And it's Bianca Springer. And these are super cute.
Here we go.
To wear these. You guys are going to ask me where I got my bracelet. I already know.
This is the end of this section. Okay.
I'm over at the Deco Art booth, and I am so taken with this quilt right here. We are definitely going to do a variation of this quilt at some point. Look at all these beautiful, vibrant, fun, funky color combinations. Anything that's porous, so wood. This hat right here, the leather will not crack. Look at the candlesticks, which are also made out of wood. These little slat bands.
You usually have to leave my pigment on the surface. You'll start to see some crackling looks. That's okay. You can get some really cool texture from that.
You did those pencils?
Yep.
Some of you may have done marbling stuff. You know, people who do dyeing or things, you know, I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, pencils. You can do the pencils too.
Great on a lot of other surfaces other than fabric, so wood, terracotta, paper, leather even works great.
You guys see the shoes over there?
You did the shoe.
So shoes work just like pencils, and I can show you how.
Okay.
With a shoe or anything 3D, you're going to want to just have a tray deep enough to submerge your entire object fully. I like this kind of blue look.
I think she put paper in her tray.
And these bottles retail for about $3.50 a pop.
Okay.
$3.48.
$3.48.
We're doing show specials, so these kits we're doing show specials. This is normally like $47 at retail, and we're doing $40 for that.
How many colors? That comes with 6
That
colors.
comes with these 5 colors. It comes with the powder for the water as well. The only thing this doesn't come with that you might want to get started is the fabric prep.
Okay. Which is this right here, right?
It is this, the blue one.
The blue one.
It's $10.
Fabric prep. So
$10 for
okay,
this.
she's
The fabric. This is going to be your fabric prep. And my understanding is that you soak your fabric in there for about how long?
As long. When it touches the surface, it's on there. So you don't have to let it sit or anything.
The fabric needs to be pre-soaked though. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
For about
10, 15 minutes, let it dry, and then you're good to go.
Yeah, the longest part is the air drying.
So this works just like a shoe. You're just gonna
probably
go
do it
in and out.
So she's doing a pencil, but I just wanted to show you that this is a thing, and that quilt was done with marbled fabric. It's interesting, you know. If you're into that stuff, like that'd be a lot of fun. Yeah.
It's really cool.
It is
I
cool.
mean, if you've ever watched videos, I said Sue, who was it just said, MC John, so she's done some and watched videos, or I'm assuming watched videos, or maybe you watched it in person.
Yeah.
But yeah, watching the videos, like the stuff that they do, like the end papers and books, fancy books.
Yeah.
They do that. I guess it's in, was it Venice, where I think it's somewhere in Italy. I think that these marbling techniques were like perfected.
Cool.
And yeah, they're so cool to look at, and like how detailed they can get. You know, with the paper. I've never done it with fabric, but with the paper.
Right.
Yeah.
Really beautiful marbling is it's pretty beautiful. I mean, I'm not super into like a tie-dye look so much, or, you know, a spatter, but really beautiful marbling it's gorgeous. I mean, it would be interesting, especially, I mean, if you're into hand dyeing or, you know, that kind of thing to practice with that kind of, I mean, I think, yeah, it's really exciting. And I think Kenny mentioned it looks a little bit like Tula. And there is kind of that, so it's kind of psychedelic, but I don't like to say that because psychedelic is,
She
yeah,
has,
yeah.
I don't know how recent it is. She did have one that looked like marbled. It was like
Interesting.
pink, and I don't know, it might have come in multiple colorways, but I think there was like a pink and a purple that I remember, and it really did. It looked like in that quilt, that purple that's up there, kind of the top, top right. That it kind of looked like that.
Yeah,
So,
it's
and I
really
don't remember
neat.
what line it was, but yeah.
Cool. Well, okay, everybody, that's the show tonight, and I hope that you all enjoyed it. I certainly did. This is my favorite. It's my favorite Quilt Nerd, you know, just like the exploration, like here's this, and what about this? And we learned about a detective novelist and a PhD person who's doing exciting things, and we talked about school, and we talked about marbling things, and we tried to guess when quilts were made, and sometimes we just don't know because they're kind of timeless, you know. So thank you, Stephanie Cake. Thank you so much for being part of this show, and thanks everybody for coming. And on Saturday, our show will be the last show of the season, the last show of the year. And so make time for it. Make time for it on Saturday at 4:00 p.m. on Central Time. I'm going to have a lot of really great content for you, and I don't want to be sad, so I'm not going to linger on that. But on Saturday, pour yourself a glass of wine, get some chips, and be with us. Be with us for the last show of the season. I just love y'all so much, and this show is so important to me, and I want to see you all on Saturday. And if you're a Tier 2 or Tier 3 subscriber, then please tune in, watch your email, because you'll get a link for a pregame show at 3 o'clock. We'll get together, the Tier 2 and Tier 3 folks get together and hang out together before the show begins at 4:00 p.m. on Saturday, November 18th. So I'll see you all on Saturday. Take care, be good, and don't be too good, because, I mean, don't do that. I love y'all. Bye-bye.